I've been an oxygen man since 1986 when I first got into ozone, and the results were so phenomenal. Very quickly I came to realize that the fundamental processes of all healing is oxygen. If you don't have oxygen, you can't heal, and if you have oxygen, you hopefully can heal, provided you have everything else you need. But the single most important thing for your body to heal and repair is oxygen, because it's the source of all energy in your body. If your cells are not getting oxygen, if they're what we call hypoxic, and they're not getting enough oxygen, they can't make energy, they can't repair. I like Live O2 because it accomplishes many, many different things. First of all, the research was done by Manfred von Arden many years ago, showing that if you do exercise with oxygen, you get a higher head of pressure. You're breathing 100% oxygen, and you get a higher head of pressure in your arterial system. And that higher head of pressure can move through the capillaries at higher pressure, reaching the venous end of the capillary, which is generally more oxygen starved. The tissues on that end are more oxygen starved. So if you can turn on those capillary endothelium and get their sump pumps working, the swelling that is in those endothelial cells can get pumped out. The cells regain their flattened shape, and more oxygen can transfuse across into the interstitial space and get into the cells. And breathing high oxygen does that. Now, exercise with oxygen, I believe, accomplishes it better than just breathing 100% oxygen, because while you're exercising, your heart is forcing that higher head of pressure through faster, so your cells are getting nourished with a higher head of oxygen pressure, which is what's important to reach the cell, is the pressure. When I saw this system, I said to myself, oh my God, I was embarrassed. I said to myself, why didn't I think about this? Because one of the deficiencies in standard exercise with oxygen is people are running a concentrator, and concentrators only make so many liters per minute. Well, that's fine, except when you're exercising, you're going to exceed that. I can easily blow 130 liters per minute while I exercise. And if you're just at rest, a concentrator might do the job if you're getting, 10 liters per minute. But when you're exercising, you can pump 2 to 3 liters of air with every breath. So you need a lot. When I saw this, and I saw that you have a reservoir that is storing the oxygen, I said, wow, now you can get nearly 100% oxygen from a concentrator, and you're not going to suck in room air when you exceed the capacity of the concentrator. With that 100% oxygen, you're getting a higher partial pressure of oxygen in your arterial system, which is what you need to reach the more distal hypoxic tissues. I'm not a scientist, I'm a clinician. I happen to like hyperbaric oxygen, and for somebody who cannot exercise, it's really quite good. Hyperbaric oxygen is going to take your partial pressure above sea level. So you could be breathing 100% oxygen, say at 760 millibars, which is sea level. If you get into a soft chamber, you go to about 1.25 atmospheres. If you get into a hard chamber, you can go up to 2 atmospheres, maybe a little bit more. And yes, that will dissolve oxygen gas. One of the things it doesn't do is it doesn't exercise you. This exercises you, and this exercises you in the presence of oxygen. So your cells can actually perform a lot better. And that exercise is rushing oxygen to parts of your body that need it. Hyperbaric oxygen is going to saturate your body, but it's not going to give you, this is my opinion now, the additional effects of exercise. Plus, it's more expensive to do. It's a lot more expensive to do, especially if you do the hard chamber for higher pressure. And the soft chamber only takes you up to 1.25 atmospheres. Well, this system is already bringing you up to 1 atmosphere. And then the benefit here is the exercise. And that's what really tones the body. We know the value of exercise for a myriad of body functions. The immune system is going to do better with exercise. Your brain does better with exercise. The heart does better with exercise. So now you're getting the combined benefit of a higher head of oxygen plus exercise. And the higher head of oxygen can get you to perform better. One of the other things about this particular setup, which I think is cool, is with the throw of a switch, you can get an additional stress to the body. With the lever on plus O2, you're breathing 100% oxygen, and then just by throwing the lever down, it takes you up to high altitude, where we are right now. We happen to be at Snowbird at Salt Lake City. If you bring yourself up to altitude, you become hypoxic, and then your body has to adapt to that. And the adaptation is a beneficial stress. Everything that the body does, it's going to be modified beneficially by good stresses. This is a good stress. If you go up to high altitude for a short period of time, then you have adaptation. Your body responds to it by figuring out ways to get more oxygen delivered to the tissues. So you have an added advantage. So if you're at high altitude and your body says, give me oxygen, it's going to vasodilate, wanting this oxygen to tissues, and now all of a sudden you get this rush of oxygen. When you throw it back to O2 plus, you're getting 100% oxygen, and it's going to rush that oxygen through to the tissues that really need it. So when you have the hypoxic setting, your capillary bed's going to dilate, wanting additional oxygen because it's not getting it, and you have a higher head of pressure. Now when you flood your body with oxygen by going back to 100% oxygen, you get this huge head of oxygen pressure coming through these newly dilated capillaries, and you're reaching tissues that might not have been reached otherwise. One other interesting thing, it's been shown that the more oxygen that can reach tumors, the less aggressive they're going to be. And I can see where, we know that tumors have a lousy blood supply, and I can see where, combined with higher oxygen and higher pulse pressure from the heart, this might actually help get a higher head of oxygen into the tumor and perhaps get them to behave less aggressively. One of the other really important things is we see sick people, and they're sick because there's inflammation. Where there's inflammation, there's congestion, there's edema, there's fluid, which further restricts oxygen delivery to the tissues. Now, one of the nice things about hyperbaric oxygen is it can help bypass that. Personally, I believe this can do the same thing, because now you're getting a higher pulse pressure with the exercise, and you're breathing 100% oxygen, driving this higher head of pressure through very quickly, and you should be able to achieve better oxygen saturation in the site of the congestion where there's edema and restriction of blood flow.